the best advice that I have is if you see the wheel spinning over and over and over again, if you can get them to see for themselves in an attached view what is happening in their life because of what they're doing, you can also show them how to break the cycle by exhibiting a new behavior. That guy clearly hasn't hit rock bottom, so he needs to. So yeah, go down that road. I mean, you kind of have to. That's kind of how you embrace your darkness. That's how you learn about your darkness, and that's where you find God. And we can talk about the future of business and how I actually think the integration of humanity into business is what's going to make companies successful. Because right now, companies just sell products and services, which is great. Now they're selling an experience through their product and service, and then what's going to evolve from there is like you're selling the human spirit. Mm-hmm. In your furthering the human spirit, you're pursuing an ideal based on your company. People are going to buy into that because I think this self-awareness thing is really going to take off because of what it does.
Do you think that's more on the value side, like you sell your values, or is it
you have ideals, and right now people, they publish these ideals or these sustainability things, but it's all a bunch of fraudulent BS, right?
Yeah.
So you will be able to sense like what's real and what's not based on the product, based on the service, based on the people. And the more real you are, which is the most spiritual thing you can be, is just real. Like for example, I saw a Doritos truck the other day, and it was talking about we're driving our way to a greener future. Like nobody cares. You're a chip company. Like talk about your chips, or integrate some humanity, some humor. That's what's gonna, I believe, do really well is candidness. Candidness real is going to make companies more successful. Where people are hiding behind these dramatic narratives of sustainability. It's fraudulent.
Yeah, just like a prompt.
Yeah, it's a prompt.
So what would you say, what companies, how do they find that value then?
It's through the founder. It's through the business is always an extension of the founder. I've noticed. That's how I invest in my stocks. I always look at the CEO. That's why this Robinhood guy, his name's Vlad, he's just brilliant. And when he speaks to his shareholders, he speaks to people on Twitter. I see where he's coming from, and based on that, I know what his agenda is. I know what his intentions are, and it shows in the company. It shows in his customer service. It shows in his app. It shows in every part of the business, which is why it's such a good investment for me, because I trust that. Whereas other companies, I don't think I have to mention names, but you can just sense when the owner isn't so concerned with the quality of their product. They're more concerned about the money, the outcome. When you're more concerned about the outcome rather than the process, you've already lost, in my opinion.
No, that's deep. So you would say that you bet on the founder rather than the company itself?
Well, you're betting on, in a way, they're the same thing. The business is an extension of the founder. It's like a work of art. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't often trust companies that have had their CEO replaced by someone new, because that's not their baby. Like when Walt Disney died, like what happened to Disney, it's falling off a cliff. But that magic is still there. I know it is. It's going to take the right people to bring that back to life. But for example, like these new companies I'm talking about, Robinhood, Coinbase, Duolingo, these are young companies, and their founders are so passionate, and you can feel it through their work, through the art, just like Van Gogh, just like all these artists or the musicians. You can feel them through their work, and this it's no different than business.
Yeah. What are 5 businesses right now that you're seeing that in?
The ones I just mentioned, Duolingo, Coinbase, and Robinhood are 3. 2 of them are financial institutions. So Coinbase handles crypto. Robinhood handles all of financials. You can have a portfolio there. Duolingo is obviously the language app. 2 more off the top of my head. I also watch commercials very closely. You can tell through a commercial what companies are fraudulent, what companies are really trying to be real. All the insurance companies like Progressive, Liberty Mutual, bunch of bullshit, honestly. But there are other companies I'm trying to think that they just create something real. A lot of the car companies are doing that really well. I think it was either Nissan or Toyota. I mean, even Subaru does a good job. Like they talk about the family, the safety aspect. Like it's very real, and it shows in the commercial. It shows in the way they present themselves. I try to be on the lookout for that when I'm evaluating companies, when I'm looking to invest in a company, when I buy a product from a company. Because again, it flows through every part of it. The shirt, the car, this water, like it shows.
You said something about the Coinbase, so these guys are young.
Yeah.
What do you look for in these leaders to know a company's going to be successful? Is there something that you see different from a different, like, how much should you go into that?
The ability, authenticity. Do they really love their product, their service? Are they so in love with it that they can't stop talking about it, that you can hear it in their voice when they do talk about it? Their willingness to innovate, their willingness to pivot. So actually the biggest thing, which is along that line, is how they're able to overcome conflict. Because I swear what happens when you start a company, God is going to throw things at you, whether it's a court case or a user gets hacked, whatever the case might be. How do they overcome that? Or something political, like, oh, you're not supporting LGBTQ, like, what the hell's wrong with you? Well, this is why we don't. Can they stand for their values despite external voices, external conflict? Will they stand behind what they created? And when I listen to these founders I actually listen to Tim Ferriss. He's a podcaster. He's great. He interviewed two of these founders. Armstrong from Coinbase, and I forget the guy's name from Duolingo. But after I listened to those podcasts, I could just feel their passion for their company. So passion, the ability to overcome conflict are really the biggest ones.
Do you see yourself building a company, or are you going to be like the investor side?
That's funny you asked that. What I believe is going to happen is I will be a consultant / investor, and I'm going to find people who I believe in, that I see their art unfolding before my eyes, and they know it's there too, but they just need something, whether it's advice, capital, other resources, manpower, because I see their belief and I believe in their belief. I believe in what they're doing, and that for me that's what I'm good at. I can see the talent in you, and you as you show me your work, as you show me what you're doing, and I can help you elevate, because my belief and your belief combined is it's going to change your company, it's going to change the world, God willingly. So
obviously the old generation, they're eventually going to die.
Yeah.
The new generation, us, is going to take over. What do you see the new generation taking over? Like, it's going to be completely different. I know you're talking about how it's not going to be more corporate-wise. It's going to be more on the spiritual side, more of what they stand for, and more like their values. They're going to pick a company off of their values, not off of what the company does.
Well, it's not coincidental that AI is evolving as quickly as it is, because what that is, I believe, going to do, it's going to take a lot off our plates. And there's this phenomenon I see, I think we all see it, where young people don't want to work the extraordinary hours that like our parents and grandparents worked. Like, that's just not in our blood for some reason. And we can blame it on the phones, the distractions, whatever. But I think it's for a divine reason. Like, we didn't come here to work for our whole life. We came here to create. Like, I feel like I know we are all artists. That's what a business is. It's, again, an extension of yourself. That's music, all of that is art. So we're all here to create life, create art. And I think that's what we're going to see more of in the future, is authentic extensions of ourselves, where people are investigating themselves and then pouring that into work, whether, again, it's music, business, new life, and kids. So I think there's going to be an influx of families that stay together, relationships, and turning inward is going to become a huge phenomenon amongst young people because of the value that brings to yourself. People exercise, people eat well. Like, we're heading in that direction. You can feel it, you can see it, and it's going to turn into something spiritual, because people are going to realize that's the next level on the pyramid. It's the physical, the mental, into the spiritual and financial. Those two, I would say, are linked. So that's where I see it going. Very spiritual, very relationship oriented, very artistic and creative, instead of divisive and corporate and working long hours that you're not satisfied with the work.
Working companies that have lasted like 50 to 100 years, what can they do now to attract the new generation?
That's a good question, because I look at these companies that have thousands and thousands of employees, and frankly, a lot of them are NPCs.
Yeah.
Like, they aren't.
It's a 9 to 5.
Yeah, they're slaves. There's just no other way to put it. So how can they inspire their people to do the stuff that we're talking about right now? I mean, that is going to be the challenge. What I see is it's going to require a significantly less amount of people to do the work that's required right now because of AI, because a single person is going to be more capable than X amount of people right now, because when you turn inward, when you become self-aware, the work that you do, the life that you live is so authentic, you could show up for it every day and not get tired of it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be a slow change, but if you look from point A to point B, it's going to look so drastic. But what happens in between, it's going to take some time. And how that change is going to happen, I don't know. It's going to require education. I mean, education is the way people are willing to change. When they hear something that's so inspirational or so influential, they'd be willing to, take it upon themselves to make that change. That's the only way. And those who don't, well, then they get weeded out. But again, the company has to embrace that kind of culture, and it starts with the founder, and it bleeds all the way down into the people. So if the founder isn't inspiring the people below him and doing it himself, then it's not going to work. So the founder or the person in charge has to really believe and take it upon themselves.
Going on to the mission, so you want to evolve humanity through inspiration, but you're okay if that comes through like raising just one powerful family. What would you say to someone who thinks that dream is like too small?
I mean, just the American dream is really fame, fortune, the big house, the big car. Like, we hear that narrative all the time, and it is a way to influence social media following. It's a great way to influence, but again, the people that you are inspiring, they are also a reflection of you. So if I'm not in a position to influence someone because I'm not in a position myself where I'm not coming from an authentic place, I'm not going to truly help that person. And people underestimate so drastically the power of family and what you can do by having a family of your own. And I think for me, my life's work is going to be family, and almost treat it like a lifelong study of how to raise the best kids, how to have the most nurturing and evolving relationship with my wife. And that is something I can give to the world through books, through speaking, and there's nothing more powerful than the family. And if I'm able to educate masses on the family, I think that's the biggest dream anyone could ever have, because there's nothing more important than those things. But it's going to take time, it's going to take dedication, it's going to take, overcoming my own insecurities, emotions, darkness, whatever, but that's the whole point. And again, that's what I'm sharing with people, and I would say that's no small feat, that's no small dream at all.
How big of a family do you want?
I mean, as big as God's willing to give me. I ask, and sometimes I see one son, sometimes I see like 6 daughters, 1 son. But biblically, like, having a big family is something that's very godly, and I see myself living simply, because I believe simplicity is really a luxury. I listen to people all day, whether it's at jiu-jitsu, whether it's online, whatever, their lives are so complicated that they cannot show up for their family. And again, we deem that successful, where you sacrifice time and attention to your family for this work. But really, if you spend time on your family, that's your legacy, that's everything. Your kids are going to have kids, your kids' kids are going to have kids, and that just branches, and that's how you change the world, is through your family.
Are you in a relationship currently?
No.
Do you find it hard to find like a godly woman in today's society?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, and my philosophy around that is I don't go out seeking. Like, I don't have dating apps. I don't really. I mean, the most exposed I put myself in terms of meeting other people is going to the gym, and what I believe is that God is going to, as I do the work for myself, God is going to take me along a path where I meet someone that is doing the same work, that has the same intentions. So it's really being patient. I don't like sleep around. I don't do any of that. I really just focus on myself, focus on what's in front of me, which isn't a girl right now. It's me and my family and the work that's around us. God willingly, I do trust and believe that God will put someone in my path eventually. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on, again, what's in front of me. I think that's the best advice I would ever have for anyone, is don't go out seeking it. It's whatever you're seeking is also seeking you, in having the faith that God's going to put that person in a way that's so obvious, you won't miss it. That's the kind of faith I have when it comes to a woman.
I think it comes to you when you're not looking for it.
Yeah, I hear that. I do believe that, because otherwise you have this expectation on God, like, where is it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't come that way.
So I know you're not huge on the social media, is that right? Is there a reason behind that? What's your views on that? I mean,
I have. There's insecurities behind it. Like, I have hesitation to put myself out there in such a way where I'm so exposed to the world. And I know that's the whole point, though, is to reveal yourself to the world and inspire the world through that. but I find it's a chore also for me, and I'm really not going to settle on something that I deem a chore. And again, just like the woman, these things are going to happen if they're supposed to happen. Like, if it's funny, I thought about this conversation we're going to have today, and I said, actually, that is going to probably kick off my social media endeavor, because I'm going to have all this great footage, and I can post all that good stuff, and then from there, whatever happens. So, but again, you came to me, like, how much of a blessing was that?
Yeah.
And that's just how I'm going to live my life. If it comes to me, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to show up again for what's in front of me, which is my family, the investing, the betting, all that good stuff. So that's, again, the way I look at it. And so I don't see why I wouldn't post any of this stuff after, and then from there,
see what happens.
So
going back to the legacy and brotherhood, so you used to think that you had to change thousands of lives, but now you focus on your brothers. Is that like the deepest, or is the deepest impact often made in silence and not in the spotlight?
It just depends on what position you're in. Again, like, whatever's in front of you, engage with. When I was with Naftali, which you're familiar with, I helped people online with their struggles as it related to relationships, them personally, and I was talking to 7-8 people a day for 6 to 8 months, and I was helping them discover, like, what it is they're truly dealing with underneath their insecurity spheres, whatever. And then my friend would help them, and that was my way of giving back to the world. But again, I had no time for my family, hardly any time for myself, and I was struggling. And then when I made the decision to move on, that's where this narrative comes in, where it's like, Nate, now that you're not helping as many people as you were, what can you do now? And now this impact I'm having in silence is having tremendous impact, because I can see my brothers evolving before my eyes as I evolve. And actually yesterday I had this friend at the gym, and I walked away for a second, and my brother walked out of the locker room, and those two started chatting, and my brother said something, a piece of wisdom that I gave him to my friend, and my friend said to me, like, Nathan, it's great, like, the impact and influence you have on your brothers. Like, you may not see it to the extent that other people do, but know that it's happening. And I trust that it's happening because of that very, occurrence. And why that's so important, why it's so important for my brothers to evolve, is because, again, they're also extensions of me. I'm going to need their support one day when I go and speak, when I do influence millions, thousands, whatever the case might be, whatever God has for me. I'm going to need their support, because I can't do it on my own. Nobody can. So as I build them up, like I build myself up, that's when I'm creating a support system that I'm going to need. Because if I go to try to influence millions right now, I'm going to suffer and suffocate. So if I do the work now in silence, patiently with my family, that's the best thing I can do right now. Because again, it's right in front of me, and God will put audiences in front of me when He deems to. And actually this week I spoke in front of a crowd at church, and that was something I stepped into. So these things are slowly gathering momentum. And tell me if I need to shut up or we need to move on. But one thing I noticed is people are in such a rush to change the world, to influence, to make money, whatever, but we don't realize how much time we have. If we buy into the narrative that life is short, that there's not enough time, that you need to do and not rest, you reinforce that for yourself, for your mind, for just all of you, and it just manifests in your reality. That's just how I believe. And our reality is not a coincidence. It's not just random. It's a projection of what we believe. So if you believe time is short, if you believe you always have to do, that's what you're going to do, and life is going to pass you by. But if you're patient, if you're present, life moves so slowly, and you see that God is always with you, always working with you, and the path is gradually unfolding. But if you go too fast, you avoid God, you avoid the path. And
that's pretty deep, because there's a lot of gurus out there that are like, no, you have to go,
right,
because there's not enough time.
Right. And what that is, in my opinion, my eyes, is a way for the world to test me in what I believe in and what I know intuitively is true, which is God is going to give me as much time as I need to get all the work I need and He needs done. And I pray for that all the time. Like, God, just make sure it all gets done. Whatever you need done for me, just make sure it gets done. Give me enough time to do that. And I trust He's going to answer my prayer. But I don't think people think that way, because they're so rushed by... And it's not even, yes, it's personal, but it's also influenced by the narratives that we hear, just like you were saying, all these gurus who seem to know what they're talking about, seem to know what they're saying are telling all these people. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is, if I'm not in a position to influence someone because I don't have it myself, I might ruin people's lives. And that's what arguably some people are doing online and calling themselves influencers. They're giving out opinions and people are adopting them, and it's not godly.
Yeah, that or it's not even their opinion.
Exactly.
It's just something they heard from someone else. They adopted it, and
exactly.
Who knows who they heard it.
Which is why the ultimate framework is getting people to embrace what is true to them. If you can find a replicatable way for other people to discover who they are and to embrace their beliefs and to go out and live that way instead of me I don't want more Nathans. I want a true Nathan, I want a true Owen, I want a true you, because that's what the world needs. They don't need 3 Nathans, right? They need you and me. And if we can find a way, if someone finds a way for you to go through some kind of, whatever it is, education to discover yourself and what your purpose is in this world, that is the best thing I think we could do as a society.
I think it's deeper into that too, because there's a lot of people out there that do try to copy each other. Let's say a big guy out there is Andrew Tate. People try to copy Andrew Tate so they can become famous, but the real art is in themselves. Like, they're going to become quote unquote famous if they choose their own path and they go down their own road and then share their art with everybody else.
Exactly. It's so difficult though. Mm-hmm. It's so difficult to go down the path less traveled, because again it's so unknown and it's riddled with fear but that's why you need God, because you trust that He's there, He's holding your hand the whole time. And if it feels like it's so unique, it's so different, it's actually probably exactly where you need to be. It's probably.
Could you do an example of a riddle that God speaks into?
Sure. So, let's see. It's actually he does this for my betting too. So, for example, yesterday, my brothers and I we're cooking, and we were wondering, okay, like Cubs have this line movement, Tigers this, Giants that, and we were looking at the Cubs. And a bunch of things made sense. And then my brother looked down at his socks. He goes, hey, look. And he was wearing red, blue, and white socks, the exact colors of the Cubs. And it was just God speaking to us. Mm-hmm. That was a sign. That was a confirming sign for us. So it worked. It hit. So that you have to really pay attention to your surroundings, to what people are saying. I mean, I can speak hypothetically, like if you ask God for reassurance or for anything that you need and you pay close attention, that's going to come. I promise you it's going to come. It's going to come in time. It could come through someone's voice. It could come through... Usually it happens... The songs that I listen to, the titles of the songs often have such relevant messages that it brings me to tears or some kind of emotion, because it's like that's undeniably God. So if you pay attention to what you listen to the things, my mom, she'll say all the time, the best answer, guys, is we don't know. And when I was working with Naftali, I was like, Nate, you got to embrace the unknown. Like, you're in uncharted territory, and sometimes you just got to admit you don't know. And that was God talking to me, like, Nate, the unknown, like, just embrace it. Your mom says that she's full of wisdom, Naftali full of wisdom, like. And then that allowed me then that's been my practice, is paying attention to what God is trying to tell me. Patience was the most recent big one. And I was hearing that just through other people. I was reading it on posters. I was reading it everywhere. And it's not a coincidence. It's always right in front of us. But since we see it and it's so big, we think it's for everyone else. But no, like what you see through your eyes is for you. So pay attention. What's going through your ears, through your heart, it's all for you. So really pay attention. That's why we got to limit what we consume too. What
was your most spiritual disconnecting moment? The one that made you question everything, like including the presence of God?
That's really good. So I started this journey 3 years ago, and before that I wasn't as intense as I am now. But actually a few months ago, when the stock market crashed, my bets were doing horrendously. I stopped working with Naftali. And it was like still winter time, so it was just dark and cold out. And it was like the bottom of the bottom for the stock market, for like all my betting accounts were at zero. And I just cried out to God. I said, God, like, what the hell, what the fuck is going on? Why are you doing this to me? I didn't forsake Him, but I was really angry. I let Him know I was angry. But I I always tell him, like, God, don't let me leave you. Don't let me let go of your hand. So I've never doubted his existence in these past 3 years. Never. Like, I know he's always there, but the extent that I go to is, why are you doing this to me? F you. Like, F you, God. But with that, it's so honest, it's so real, and actually I'm realizing that God actually appreciates that, because it's, again, real. If I said, oh, everything's jolly, everything's fine, it's clearly not. So that's the extent that it's gone to, is me being angry and me questioning his intentions, questioning if he knows what he's doing, and giving him the finger. But I've never doubted his existence.
Put it this way. Let's say they come to you, they say the world doesn't mean anything to them, so they have no meaning inside of the world. So they're just going to F off and do whatever they want. They're not going to live with value. They're not going to live with ambition. They're just going to be like a degenerate to society, because they're not fulfilling like their purpose.
Okay. I think I'd say one of two things. I think one part of me would say, okay, go ahead.
And why is that?
Because anything I say to try to change that person's path, if I say, like, dude, don't do that, you're disobeying God, you're disobeying yourself, blah, 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 that's only going to make him more apt to go down that ugly road. People don't like taking advice, honestly. So I know that wouldn't work. Just knowing human behavior, that just wouldn't work. So I'd say, okay, go ahead. See where that gets you. I think you'll find God along the way, actually. Do what you feel is right. Do what you feel is true. That's probably what I would say. And then, because what I know is going to happen, I would bless that person in silence. And I would say, God, find him along the way. And he will find God along the way, because pain is the biggest way to, is the truest way to God. That's how I found God. Like, my life fell apart. I had nowhere else to turn. When you hit rock bottom, that's where you find God. I've heard that all through my life. So that guy clearly hasn't hit rock bottom, so he needs to. So yeah, go down that road. I mean, you kind of have to. That's kind of how you embrace your darkness. That's how you learn about your darkness, and that's where you find God.
So I know when you work with Naftali, you've obviously talked with many people. Has there been like a moment where, because you say stuff along the lines of like, you can see their life unfolding before they see it. So has there been moments where they're coming close to either reaching God or just like turning off the path or off that road?
Well, I'll tell you, the best conversation I had was with this one woman who, she's like a serial sleeper. Like, she slept around, and I think she really struggled with relationships. She had issues with her parents. The thing that she told me, though, is that she always has one foot out the door, one foot in. And again, that was me, like, really paying attention. And then at the end, when she was convinced that Naftali could help her, it was time to execute, to pay the price financially. She said she didn't have the money, so our rule was, okay, you know you want to do this, what we're going to do then is put a card on file. And this is, I'll share why. And she said, no, I'm not going to put the card on file. And we just went back and forth at that for a few instances, until I finally realized, like, she's doing exactly what she's doing with the men. She has one foot in the door, one foot out. If she doesn't put the card on file, she has one foot out the door. I said, look what you're doing. You're doing exactly what you're doing with these men. You have one foot out the door, one foot in. This is an opportunity for you to change the narrative, to break the cycle, to go 2 feet in. And she put the card on file. It took a couple of weeks to pay off, her balance, but I mean, she did it nonetheless, and she gave one of the best testimonials we've ever seen. And I mean, she just had a really successful program with Naftali. And I mean, she sent Naftali voice notes about the conversation we had, but I took a lot of pride in that conversation, just because I was able to notice that was the cycle that was occurring, and to get her to realize that this was her opportunity to break out of it by exhibiting a different behavior. And that goes for anyone. If you see the wheel spinning over and over and over again, if you can get them to see for themselves in an attached view what is happening in their life because of what they're doing, you can also show them how to break the cycle by exhibiting a new behavior, because we all know the definition of insanity, but that's often what these people are doing. They expect different results by doing the same thing. But if you can get them to see the cycle and how this new action is going to break that cycle, you've won.
It's really good.
Okay.
That answers my question.
Cool.
I want to go back to that. I know you said you have to reach rock bottom in order to find God.
Yeah.
what's that road look like when you're like officially at rock bottom? You're speaking with God.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard stories where people are like, no, I heard him like legitimately like speaking inside of my head. What was your experience like?
This is lovely. That? Great question. So, like a little preface, my life fell apart. I went to Miami, Florida for school, the U, and whenever I told people that, they were always in awe of like that I went to this school, and because I mean it does have a reputation of being, party school and people flaunting their wealth, whatever. And I did have an awesome life there. I was dating a girl at the time. I was dating her in high school. We were madly in love, and I thought I was going to marry this chick. Her family was awesome. They were really wealthy, so we did all these cool things together. And then in the summer when we graduated, like everything fell apart. We had this business together that fell apart. Our relationship fell apart. Just in my life in Miami, I moved back home. It just all came crumbling down. So that was my first rock bottom moment. And when I went to Mass in my hometown for the first time in ages, there was a gospel reading that day, and it was about the story of the lost lamb, and how Jesus, when he's the shepherd in this story, but he tells it from the perspective of this random shepherd. The good shepherd will abandon his 99 sheep that are in the fold to go find the one that's missing. And that just spoke to me, because that's where I've been. I was missing for however long I was away from the fold. And they're talking about how the heavens rejoice when the sheep returns. And it just made me feel so good, because it felt like I was returning. And actually, there's also another instance there's another part of the Mass where they offer up prayers of intention. And one of the prayers of intention, which I've never heard again since I heard it then, was, we pray for those that are experiencing darkness of mind, or in the mind. And I just knew at that moment, like God speaks through people, through the church, through anything that can get to me. And then from there it was like, okay, he wants to have a relationship. And then from there it was just an incredible bonding experience that was so real. And from there it's just been beautiful. Like, you experience God's beauty. I look up in the sky, like I see these airplanes with the most beautiful trail behind it in the blue sky and the sun. I've seen it over mountaintops when I go out west to ski, or in my own backyard, or like the deer in the backyard. Like, it's just, there's beauty everywhere when you are with God, and that's a man's most the experience we crave the most is beauty, and God gives that to you when you're with Him.
One piece of advice that you wish you would have known sooner?
Slow it down. Like, there's no rush. In high school and college, the places I went were so competitive, and it felt like that I always felt like I was behind in anything: sports, academics, making money, excelling in a future career by showing up for the things that were in front of me then. But if people learn to slow down at a young age, then what that does is it separates them, because everyone else is moving at a different pace. I don't know if you've seen Ready Player One, but there's a challenge, and there's like a series of different challenges for those that haven't seen it, and whoever wins the 3 challenges gets access to the whole video game, and they're like king of the video game. That's the whole world essentially. And the first challenge is this race, and it's like this insane race where there's King Kong like smashing the tracks, there's spikes popping up, people are ramming each other off the tracks, and the one who wins it, he found a clue in the library where the founder of the game, the creator of the game, says, why can't we just go backwards for once? He might have said the word slow down, I don't know if we did. And that was his cue to, like, I gotta go backwards in the race. But again, that's different from what everyone else is doing. So I think actually the advice here is to embrace your path, to embrace you, embrace all of yourself, the insecurities, all of it. And part of that for me was slowing down. When I slow down, everyone else may seem like they're passing me. But really, no, it's the walk with God that allows you to experience the most beauty in life. And I know that to be true. It's self-evident because of what I've experienced. So it's really, the best advice that I have is slow down, listen, and pay attention. And you're going to see the path, and then just walk it. Just walk it. There's no rush. You don't need to run. You'll miss everything. So embrace your path by slowing down, and don't second guess it. That's what I would say.
Thanks for joining the show, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.